Hello everyone, my name is Mohammed and today I'm with Stephanie, the Director of Education and Clinic at Face Reality Skincare. Today Stephanie will answer some of the most common questions we get regarding skin cancer. So Stephanie, what are the most common types of skin cancer?
So the most common types of skin cancer are basal cell carcinoma and squamous cell carcinoma. They affect about 5 million people in the US every year, and usually if caught early enough, they are treatable. Now, melanoma, on the other hand, affects about 100,000 people in the United States per year, and about 8,000 of those people end up losing their lives from it.
Oh wow. What is the main cause of skin cancer?
So the main cause of skin cancer is ultraviolet exposure, and in most cases, it's excessive ultraviolet exposure. So most people, if they've had a sunburn, a severe sunburn, I'm looking at you, Mohammed, more than 5 times in their life, it drastically increases their risk of developing skin cancer.
So those soccer tournaments weren't good for me.
They weren't the best, at least not for your skin. Great for your soul, great for your physique, not so great for the skin.
So how serious is it once it's diagnosed?
It depends on the type. So if it's squamous cell carcinoma or basal cell carcinoma and it's detected early enough, it's usually very treatable. Oftentimes a dermatologist will be able to treat it with a variety of different things. Worst case scenario, you might have some scarring, but you always are going to be a little bit more prone to skin cancers in those areas. So you just need to be very conscientious of that.
Okay. So when it comes to the SPF, does a higher SPF mean it's better?
Not necessarily. So I know it can be a little confusing because you'll see SPF 100s out there. Well, there really isn't any such thing as an SPF 100. So we like to go with a minimum of an SPF 28. So an SPF 15 is going to protect your skin against roughly 93% of UV rays that you'd get exposed to. An SPF 30 is going to protect your skin against about 97% of UV rays. Now, when you think about skin cancer is caused from accumulation of ultraviolet rays over someone's lifetime. So at Face Reality, we always suggest a minimum of an SPF 28 or higher for SPF protection.
All right, so what does the skin cancer look like?
Depends. So if a skin cancer is a squamous cell carcinoma or a basal cell carcinoma, it could be sort of red, discolored. That's when you're really going to want to look at those A, B, C, D, E's, and that stands for asymmetry, which is your spot or your lesion is going to be different. If you cut it right down the middle, it's going to look different from one side to the other. The second would be B, that stands for border. The border of that spot would be irregular or scalloped in shape. The C would stand for color. Oftentimes that spot will be various different colors ranging from blue, red, black to dark brown. Then we have D, that stands for diameter. So lesions that we see that are under 6 millimeters usually, and I stress usually, aren't really suspect. It's when a lesion gets larger than 6 millimeters in diameter, especially melanoma, that it becomes a cause for concern. The last one would be E, and that stands for twofold, elevation as well as evolution. So if a lesion is elevated above the surface of the skin or that lesion has evolved, is starting to look different than it has in previous months or years, that's usually when a skin cancer could be manifesting and you want to have it checked out by a medical professional.
Okay. To wrap this up, can you tell us a few different ways we could protect ourselves against UV?
Sure. Stop going to your soccer tournaments in Vegas in 120-degree weather. That's a first start for you, Mohammed.
12 o'clock games.
Yes, at 12 o'clock games. That's perfect segue into ways to protect yourself. So ultraviolet rays are not all the same. There are 3 types of rays. We have ultraviolet A, we have ultraviolet B, and we have ultraviolet C. Ultraviolet A rays are present from sun up till sundown. We call those the ultraviolet aging rays because they're able to penetrate pretty deep into the skin, about 750 nanometers or farther in depth, which is where your collagen elastin is synthesis is happening, and that's where the wrinkles and basically fine lines will start to develop from ultraviolet A exposure. Now, ultraviolet A exposure is going to make you look particularly great, but it's not as cancer causing as ultraviolet B or ultraviolet C. So ultraviolet B stands for ultraviolet burning rays, and those are going to be present most commonly from 12 o'clock to 4 o'clock. That's really when people are going to see, like your 12 o'clock game or matches, that's when you're going to see those burning rays. So it's really important to stay out of the sun or at least take shade breaks, keep your skin really protected during the hours of 12 to 4. And then we have the ultraviolet C rays, and those stand for ultraviolet cancer causing rays. used to be that those rays couldn't penetrate through the ozone layer and reach the Earth's surface, so they weren't as much of a concern for us. A lot of experts are now saying that that is no longer the case, that those ultraviolet C rays are actually hitting the skin. They're hitting us on a much more superficial surface layer, leading to things like squamous cell carcinoma and basal cell carcinoma. So the most important things that we can suggest is stay out of the sun during those really high times. 12 to 4 summer months, always going to be a little scarier than your winter months because your exposure is going to be much higher. Reapplication of sunscreen is the most important thing. Sunscreen, no matter what the SPF, is going to degrade on the skin after about 90 to 120 minutes, especially if it's in a lotion. If it's aqueous, it's going to metabolize a lot quicker than, let's say, a powder sunscreen. And so as soon as that window has elapsed, your natural protection is not going to be doing anything for you. You've got to supplement with that reapplication of sunscreen to ensure that you've got full spectrum protection. And then also athletes like yourself, if you're sweating, if you're playing sports, if you're wiping your forehead, if you're rubbing bodies in a soccer match, all of that sunscreen is gonna wear off. So that mechanical friction on the skin will degrade it faster. So sweating, swimming, anything that's going to potentially cause that to degrade quicker, you gotta keep that in mind.
Thank you so much, Stephanie.
You're welcome. This was fun. Do you have any other questions for me, Mohammed?
That would be all.
Okay, awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching, everybody. Make sure to wear your sunscreen.